Hey, what's up guys? I made a video on how to drastically speed up your file transfers using this program called PrimoCache. I'll put a video link in the description below if you guys are interested to see how that's done. In this video, I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions in demonstration form. So here is the agenda. Number 1, will this speed up drives via USB? Will this shorten the life of your SSD if you use it as level 2 cache? Can you just use RAM to speed up the drives instead of getting an SSD? And how do you get back your SSD for normal use if you decide not to use your SSD for level 2 cache? The reason for this question is because when you use your SSD for level 2 cache, it disappears from your computer. At least that's what it seems like. So I'm going to show you guys how to bring that back. Okay, number 1, will this speed up your drives via USB? And the answer is yes. Reason is because in this example, actually, I'm going to speed up my backup drive, which is E, and this is a 3.5-inch hard drive in a USB enclosure. So I'm actually going to do this example on a USB connected drive. Number 2, will this shorten the life of your SSD if you use the SSD for level 2 cache? And the answer is pretty much no. The reason for that is because of MTBF. MTBF stands for mean time between failure. So that is a metric that's used to calculate failure on devices. So if you type in MTBF solid state drive, this is what pops up. So there's a myth that SSDs do not last long. That is not true according to the MTBF numbers, because typically SSDs have ratings between 2 million hours, which is about 228 years, or 5 million hours, which is around 570 years. Even the lower end ones that I've researched have MTBFs of 1 million hours, which is around 114 years, essentially. Okay, number 3, can you just use RAM to speed up your drive? Do you need to get an SSD? And the answer is yes, you can just use RAM. You don't actually need to get an SSD. However, there is a caveat to that. So if I open up Task Manager, and you could see that my computer is basically idling at around 7.5 gigabytes of RAM. Let's just say 8 gigabytes just to make it simple. Now I have 32 gigabytes total. Now RAM is designed that you pretty much use what you need, and if you don't need it, it's available for something else. But because I do a lot of video editing, I do a lot of rendering and stuff, I actually need my RAM. So for this computer specifically, I wouldn't want to use my RAM to speed up my drive, because I'm going to lose part of this and I really need it for rendering. Now if you have a lot of RAM, or if you even have 32 gigabytes of RAM and you really just don't ever pass 16 gigabytes, then feel free to use it. But just as a heads up, and I'll also show you another limitation when I'm copying stuff, just so you guys could see what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is how you do it. So you pretty much click plus, which is create a new cache task. You find the drive you want to speed up, which is my backup drive E. Backup drive E. Now actually, right before I speed that up, let me show you guys the difference in speed. So if I copy this, it's 5 gigs. So if I go to properties, 5.5 gigabytes basically. So it's copying at around 86 megabytes per second. So let me show you guys what the speed up does, because actually using RAM level 1 cache is faster than using your solid state drive, because RAM actually is faster in general than a solid state drive is, even though a solid state drive is very fast. So I'm just going to cancel this. Okay, so now we're going to speed this up. So I selected this backup drive E. So I'm going to click next. Now it puts in a number for me to use up this amount. So basically you're right around 12 gigabytes. So I have the option to play with the read and the write. Because 12 gigabytes is really not that much, I'm just going to allocate it all to write. And I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to select 512 kilobytes, and then I'm going to enable defer write. So then I'm going to click start. When I do this, now if we look at my task manager, you could see that now essentially 12 more gigs went up. So now I only have 12 gigs remaining, 12.1 gigabytes remaining So if I was trying to render something, that would actually happen slower because I have less RAM available. So again, this is just an example for this video, just to demonstrate this thing. Okay, so now if I try to copy something to this drive, the same 5.5 gigs, it's gonna be absurdly fast. So see, it pretty much finished, 2.2 gigabytes. So now if I use this video, it's actually fully usable.
Hey, what's up guys? This is the TP Link
So
Deco
if I skip through this video,
2 or 3 rooms
it's all here.
in a building.
Go to the end. Yep.
Now
it's
I
here.
think overall
The reason for that is because
so yeah,
it's
pretty much
actually
straightforward. Power,
accessing
2 Ethernet ports,
part of the file from the RAM.
There.
So because
And
this
probably
file is
with
fully
power
copied into
plugs
RAM
and
and RAM is
Ethernet
copying
ports
it
and
to this drive,
So let's just
it's fully
when
usable.
you set this.
So that's the beauty of this thing. But now if I restart my computer, I will lose this file. If I restart my computer, I come back, this file will be corrupted because RAM is volatile memory, which means when it loses power, it loses its data. Now there is an option in there to basically enable it for fast shutdown. You could retain your data and stuff, but I don't recommend that because A, that's going to slow it down, B, it doesn't work for restarts, and it's just knowing that RAM is going to, it's really volatile memory, I wouldn't even trust that option anyways. So what I recommend is if you're using RAM to speed up your drive, copy and paste, because if you lose the data, well, you still have the original. So verify it's in there, verify it's done, verify the cache is written, everything's good, and then you can delete the original. And this is the flush button. So if you click on this, it'll try to flush out the whole thing in this cache task. So if anything was in there, it would try to empty that out. But it's trying to do that anyways already. Okay, so now let me show you guys the limitation. Because we're using 12 gigabytes, well, guess what? What happens if I try to pass something that's more than 12 gigabytes? So in this case, this file is 14.6 gigabytes. So if I copy this over, it's going to copy it really fast, and then once it copies 12 gigabytes, well, guess what? RAM ran out. There's no more RAM. So now it's actually going to get back to its original copying speed of what the hard drive can take. Again, because caching something, all it's doing, think of it like it's a magic trick. Instead of copying it from my C drive to my E drive, it's actually copying it from my C drive to RAM, which is really fast, and then from my E drive, and then from RAM, it's copying it to my E drive at the rate that the E drive can take. So if this is a USB drive, which it is in this case, even though this file is actually fully usable now.
Hey, what's up guys?
And
I'll show you guys how to build.
If I try to fast forward this, my computer is like, what's going on?
That also uses your.
But I mean, see, like this file is fully usable. I mean, this is a 50-minute video on how to build a computer, and it's in 4K, so it takes up a lot of it takes up a lot of space, but it's fully usable. But now if I turn off my USB drive and I turn it back on again, well, I just lost the data because it's still not fully copied in here, because it's still copying it at that 80 megabyte, 70 megabyte, 90 megabyte rate that the hard drive itself is physically limited to. So you always have to be careful with this, that yes, while it's fast and as long as you leave your computer on, it's fine and everything will be very fast and it'll be awesome. But just know at the end of the day, it is a magic trick because your physical hard drive is limited by its physical limitations. Okay. So that was RAM. So now if we want to delete RAM, which will mess up this file, but it doesn't matter to me. But if we delete RAM, it'll come back. So if I try to go here and I could flush this out, which will take like a minute or 2 minutes or how many minutes it takes for it to empty out. Or I could just pretty much do stop and remove the cache. When I do this, it's going to erase everything. So if it wasn't fully copied, then it would mess up. So now that the E drive wouldn't have a working copy of this anymore. So once I do this, if I check my task manager, my RAM is going to come back. It's going to become available again.
12 seconds later.
Okay, see, succeeded in removing the cache, and my RAM is back to normal, right around 8 gigabytes. And if this was not done, if I clicked on it, it wouldn't work. Let's see if it actually did work.
For now, I will device location.
Oh, maybe it actually did fully copy it over
Latency is when your CPU requests something
within
it
that
takes
time.
that many
But you know, if it wasn't, then that file wouldn't work. Okay, so that's the RAM example. Now we get to the solid state drive example, and how do you bring that back? So I'm no longer going to copy stuff just to make this video a little bit quicker, but I have an empty drive, my G drive. I actually partitioned part of my D drive to make this G drive, and this is an empty solid state drive that's 106 gigabytes. There's nothing in here. Very important, when you make this a level 2 cache, this will erase everything on here and it will disappear. So if you have any files in your solid state drive that you're about to make your level 2 cache, make sure it's backed up. So this is the drive that we're essentially going to erase, and I'm going to show you guys how to bring it back. So notice it's here, it's usable, and this drive is extremely fast as well. So if I copy something from here, see, it's like instant. And this is not cached, it's just that my solid state drive is actually just very, very fast. So, but once I make this into a level 2 cache, it's going to erase everything in here, and it's going to make this disappear. So when I go to my computer, I'm not going to see this G drive. So make sure your stuff is backed up. It's extremely important to make sure your stuff is backed up. Don't delete it. Like I just deleted that just because I don't need that. I was just showing you guys an example, but make sure your stuff is backed up because this process will erase everything. Okay, so what we need to do is click on Manage Level 2 Storage. We're going to click on Create Level 2 Storage, and this part is very important. Pick the correct drive. If you do not, you're going to erase a lot of stuff. So local disk G, I'm going to look for local disk G. This is the G drive. It's 106 gigabytes. I know this because when I look here, it's 106 gigabytes. It's the only thing that's 106 gigabytes. So those are indicators telling me, and I know that that's actually a partition of my Samsung SSD. So I know for a fact it's this one. I know I'm selecting the correct one. Then I'm going to click Format. It's going to warn me like, hey, are you sure? All data on the following volume will be lost and the format process cannot be canceled. Are you sure you want to continue? So again, make sure your stuff is backed up because this will erase everything. Now I'm going to open up the screen so you guys can see that the G drive is going to disappear. As soon as I click yes, it's going to disappear. Where did it go? There it is. Okay. So yes. Okay, so it's successfully converted to level 2 storage. And so we have that. And so when we go here, there's no more G. I don't see it. It's gone. So now normally, you know, you would pretty much create your level 2 cache this way. So if I was trying to do this one, you would click next. You could pick RAM. You don't have to pick RAM. You could set that to 0. You could set this to max. And then, you know, you could set your stuff here. Whatever you want to do, click next, start, you're good to go. I don't need to do that. I mean, I could do that. It doesn't really make a difference. In fact, it doesn't make a difference, right? Okay, so now let's just say my E drive is backed up, but now it's actually backed up with my cache task, and it's actually only set for read, not write, but so it's not going to speed up my writes. But anyways, I talk about all of that in the other video, so I won't touch on it. This video, I'm going to show you guys how to bring this back. So assuming your cache is emptied out, so you click this button to flush out everything and make sure everything is working and you know it's good to go. So now let's just say you want to remove this. You just changed your mind, you don't want to do this anymore, or you want to change something, whatever you want to do. How do you bring this back? Well, what you need to do is delete this, and this is going to remove your cache. So if anything was there, it's now gone. So if you were in the middle of copying something, well, those files didn't fully get copied into your E drive, well, they're not going to work. They're going to be corrupt files. So I'm going to click on Manage Level 2 Storage, and then I'm going to select my Level 2 storage, and then I'm going to click Delete Level 2 Storage, and it says, hey, are you sure you want to delete it? For this example, I'm like, yeah, there's nothing on it. It's fine. So I click yes. And now it's going to say, okay, it was successfully deleted. Now it becomes a raw volume. Do you want to just format it? And I'm like, yes, I do. I want to format it. I want to format it to just default, everything default. I'll call this, it doesn't matter, local disk, whatever. And select quick format, otherwise it's going to take forever. And it says, hey, are you sure it's going to delete everything? And I'm like, yep, I'm sure. So, and it says like, okay, it was unable to do that, right? So then I'm like, okay, let me try it again. Unable to do that. It's like, okay, what's going on? And then I click on cancel, then it says, hey, do you need to format this disk before you can use it? You want to format it? I'm like, yes, I do. So just select that. I'm not going to even put anything from volume level. So then I click OK, and it says format complete, and I'm like, yay. So now my G drive is back, and I could see that. So it's kind of funny where it failed there, and and it didn't fail here when you clicked on it. But now again, it's fully usable as a normal drive. So if I'm trying to copy something over to this, it's gonna work fine. Again, this is a very fast solid state drive copying from another very fast solid state drive. And this is actually the computer in this full computer build. So it's actually a very, very fast computer. Check out this video if you guys are interested. I'll put a video link to this video as well. Okay, so that was one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is, if this didn't work, let's do it. Let's do this another way. So let's make this into a level 2 cache again. So I'm gonna create level 2 cache. I'm gonna select my G drive. I know it's my G drive. So again, make sure it's the correct stuff. So I'm gonna click on sure, format this. Yes, I understand. Okay. And again, it disappeared. So go back to this. Let me close this and reopen it because it got resized. So you guys could see that better. So you could see it's my level 2 storage again. Okay, so if that didn't work, again, go here, do delete level 2. It should work in general, but even if it didn't, if I click cancel and like, okay, well, where is it, right? I accidentally clicked canceled, and now PrimoCache doesn't have it. So I'm like, okay, what do? I don't see it here, and I don't see it here. How do I get this back, right? So, well, there's a few other ways of doing this. I'm trying to show you guys all the free ways of doing it. So we're gonna click on Windows. We're gonna type in disk man, or just type in disk. It will take you to disk management. So if we go to disk management, if we open this up, we can actually see that it's actually here. This is the 106 gigabytes. I know this because it's part of this drive. So you can actually find it if you find the correct disk and stuff, and you know the size, and it happens to not be the size of anything else. But you have to be very, very careful here, because you could erase stuff that it's not going to be good if you erase stuff like from here. Okay, so once we get here, I have access to it. I can do a format from here, and it says Windows cannot format because the volume is offline. Okay, so I do delete volume. It's like, hey, are you sure? And then it takes me to unallocated. It might, if you come here, it might show up as unallocated, and then just right click on it again, do new simple volume, click next, and then you see this size, and it's like, yeah, I just want to maximize that size, and yes, I want to assign it to letter G. And sure, I want to call it new volume. Doesn't really matter. And then click finish, and then boom, there it is again. So that's another way of bringing this back. And if this doesn't work, there's a tool called MiniTool Partition Wizard. So let's just do this one more time, and I'm going to show you the very last way of doing this. Now, I'm leaving this till the last way. The reason is because I have the paid version of this tool. There is a free version of it as well. So I want to leave this as the last resort just in case that the free version doesn't support this feature. But I'm going to show you this because it does work with that tool. So if I was going to create a level 2 cache, again, if I want to make my G drive, again, this is very, very important. You select the right one, and then I click format. It's like, hey, are you sure? And then boom, it disappears again. So again, my G drive is gone. And then I come here, I do delete level 2, and it says, hey, are you sure? I'm like, yep. And then I click cancel. Again, it's gone from here, and it's gone from here. So how do I get it back? And if disk management doesn't work, which it should work, the first two ways should work, but just in case if it didn't, well, this is kind of like a last resort. So you go to MiniTool Partition Wizard, and I'll put a link in the description below to this tool as well. Now again, I have the paid version of this. There is a free version, and the free version is fairly capable. So that it does let you do, a lot of stuff. But again, because I have the paid version, I don't know if you need the paid version to do what I'm about to do. So just as a heads up, definitely worth a try. But basically, this is kind of like disk management, but with more options. But I really like this tool, but I try to avoid it because just in case you need the paid version to do something, that's why I try to avoid using it as much as possible. But I mean, if you guys have this tool is phenomenal. Okay, so you could see here that it shows up here, it says unformatted, and I know it's my disk 2, I know it's 106 gigabytes, so I know all this stuff. So it's very important to pick the correct thing, because if you don't, again, you could mess up other stuff. You could lose your data, your computer could crash, depending on what you accidentally delete. So very, very, very important you select the correct thing here. So I'm going to right click on this, and I can either do format, and I could just call this whatever, local disk, and then pick my file system, click OK. And then when I do that, then I have to come here and click apply. So when I click apply, it's actually going to make that. So click on change letter. I just saw that, change letter. So current drive letter is none, so assign it to a letter, so then it will show up. So then click apply here again, and it says, hey, are you sure? I'm like, yep. So then if I go to my drive, there it is. Now it shows up again. So here are all the ways of bringing back your drive. If you guys found this video helpful, hit that subscribe button. It's free to subscribe. If you guys have any additional questions or comments, please leave them in the comment sections below. I do try my best to answer them. I'll catch you guys in the next one.